Welcome back to Geoscope. In June 2025, 7 of the world's busiest ports abruptly froze US-bound shipments. Not because of storms or hackers, but because tariffs were turned into weapons. It isn't just electronics in the crosshairs. Car parts are being squeezed, repair bills are climbing, and the supply chain that keeps projects moving is under pressure. Today we're mapping how these ports became ground zero in a trade fight that's testing the stability of global logistics. Let's dive in. 7. Port Newark-Elizabeth, New Jersey. A coastal crossroads under pressure. As the primary East Coast gateway for automotive freight, Newark-Elizabeth is the quiet lifeline for manufacturing corridors across the Northeast and Midwest. Its rail and road networks are designed for efficiency, but with West Coast congestion forcing freight east, that efficiency is being tested to its limits, and the pressure is mounting. The data reveals extreme volatility. While Asia East Coast container volumes fell nearly 18% year-over-year, month-over-month figures show a chaotic pattern, making forecasting impossible. Compounding this are blank sailings, when ships skip scheduled stops. This isn't just a delay, it's a complete erasure of capacity, leaving critical parts stranded. For plants depending on this flow, the impact is immediate. Imagine an assembly line in Michigan waiting on dashboard modules. The container was scheduled for Newark, but due to a blank sailing, it never left Asia. Now, the entire production line grinds to a halt. This isn't a hypothetical, it's a daily reality for plant managers who rely on the port's predictability. In response, distribution hubs are building a buffer. As one distributor told us, we're holding 3 months of stock where we used to hold 3 weeks, and we're still running out of high-tech components. This strategy ties up capital and warehouse space, but persistent shortages in advanced EV electronics and drivetrain imports mean production gaps remain. Newark's struggle proves that in today's logistics network there are no low-profile ports. Every node is critical. When a key artery like Newark-Elizabeth gets congested, the pressure radiates outward, causing delays and cost increases felt by everyone, from the factory floor to the dealership showroom. 6. Yantian Port, Shenzhen, the bottleneck giant. Across the Pacific, Yantian in Shenzhen funnels more than a quarter of all US-bound exports, including a major share of auto components. After a brief tariff pause, bookings exploded by 277%, creating a traffic jam on the docks. Long-term contracts crowd out spot shippers like aftermarket suppliers, and US ports aren't ready for the overflow. The result? Congestion on both sides of the Pacific, leaving auto parts makers scrambling. Even with hopes for a July rebound, schedules remain as murky as a foggy racetrack. 5. Port of Savannah, the East Coast's rising star with growing pains. Savannah has climbed past New York and New Jersey in cargo volume, becoming a hotspot for engine modules and aftermarket kits. But blank sailings from Asia, up more than 20%, have reshuffled shipping patterns, funneling new traffic into Savannah. Freight rates dropped, drawing in more cargo, but inland logistics haven't kept up. Rail yard backups and chassis shortages are slowing plants in Georgia and Alabama, while dealerships face vanishing inventories. Savannah's surge shows how fast a port can outgrow its infrastructure. 4. Seattle and Tacoma, northern grit under siege. In the Pacific Northwest, Seattle and Tacoma, partners in the Northwest Seaport Alliance, usually handle everything from heavy machinery to engine blocks. But after a frantic push to beat tariffs in March, volumes crashed. Cargo flows fell 40%, truck trips 26%, and rail loads 35% compared with last year. Blank sailings spiked by a third, leaving repair shops and assembly lines waiting for parts. Local truckers warn that 2025 forecasts may already be off track, highlighting how sharply trade policy can cut into North America's supply arteries. 3. Port of Oakland, the Bay's endurance test. Oakland, a top 10 U.S. container port, has long served as a critical relief valve for Southern California. During peak disruptions, it became a primary gateway for shippers desperate for an open berth. Its strategic location and efficient rail connections make it a vital entry point for high-value automotive components like gearboxes, sensors, and engine kits. This two-way traffic, balanced by heavy agricultural exports, traditionally made it a reliable stop for ocean carriers. This reputation initially seemed to hold. As other West Coast ports choked, Oakland saw a small bump in inbound containers, briefly looking like a stable alternative. But this was a false dawn. The illusion was shattered by 39 blank sailings between April and June. This sudden withdrawal of capacity exposed the port's vulnerability, as carriers prioritizing profits simply erased Oakland from their schedules, leaving a massive void. The immediate effect was logistical paralysis. With fewer ships, truck and rail trips from the port plummeted by 11 to 15%. OEMs initiated desperate diversions, rerouting cargo through ports in Canada or Mexico. This wasn't a simple fix. It created complex new journeys with thousands of miles of extra transit, encountering fresh jams at border crossings and inland rail hubs, completely negating any time saved by avoiding the port. The downstream impact hit service centers hard. Dealerships saw their supply lines for aftermarket parts evaporate. A wait for a transmission that used to be 3 days stretched to 3 weeks, or longer. Vehicles were left stranded on lifts as repair orders went unfilled. It was a stark demonstration that even a solid secondary port can't fully shield the market from systemic shocks. 2. Port of Long Beach twin engine in turmoil. Long Beach, working alongside Los Angeles, moved 9.6 million TEUs in 2024, much of it auto assemblies and steel frames, but tariff hikes sent blank sailings soaring from 4 to 14 in May, slashing 152,000 TEUs. Truck runs fell 60%, and warehouses stood idle as automakers turned to pricier air freight or stockpiles. Brake systems, fuel modules and chassis components are stuck in limbo, raising costs for mechanics and repair shops. Long Beach's struggle highlights how fragile America's auto supply chain has become. 1. Port of Los Angeles. The beating heart of U.S. auto imports. Handling over a third of U.S. container traffic and nearly $500 billion in annual economic activity, Los Angeles is the country's main automotive gateway. But in May, tariffs spiked to 145% on Chinese goods, cutting daily vessel arrivals from 12 to 5. Blank sailings jumped from 6 to 17, wiping out 224,000 TEUs. Dockworker shifts were halved, while shortages of sensors and braking systems rippled through the market. Even after a temporary tariff rollback to 30%, experts warn recovery will be slow, with container rates still climbing and automakers resorting to expensive air shipments. Verdict: a crossroads for the automotive world. Our journey through these 7 key ports reveals a stark reality. This wasn't a force of nature or a global health crisis, it was a man-made storm of tariffs and trade disputes. It proved that economic policy can be as disruptive as a hurricane, grinding the intricate machinery of global supply lines to a halt. The fallout is clear. Blank sailings and cascading delays are stalling the flow of critical components, from high-tech sensors to basic steel frames. This has shattered the industry's long-held faith in just-in-time manufacturing. In response, a strategic pivot is underway. Car makers and suppliers are now forced to rethink their entire logistics playbook. The first step is bolstering inventories, with safety stock now measured in weeks, not days. They're also diversifying, exploring alternate shipping lanes and near-shoring production to Mexico to shorten supply lines. Even procurement is changing, with a new mix of long-term contracts for stability and agile spot market buys for flexibility. It's a complex, costly pivot to build a more resilient network. But these high-level strategies have real-world consequences, so we turn the question to you. How have these global disruptions shown up in your life? Are you a mechanic waiting weeks for a simple brake caliper, or a project car builder whose timeline is now in limbo? Share your specific experiences in the comments below. Your on-the-ground insights are invaluable and help guide where we take these stories next. Don't forget to subscribe to Geoscope for more updates as this trade fight unfolds. Thanks for watching and keep exploring the forces reshaping the automotive world.